Hello, my mother works in an office and I'm very familiar with these kinds of stories. This is not just a video for use, it's about real emotions, life experiences. I want you to recognize yourselves in this and not repeat other people's mistakes. All names, addresses and companies are fictional. Now, just listen to what she heard behind the door right after she became the owner of this entire inheritance.
I don't care how she feels, his mother whispered. She'll do what she's told, like always. Jacob laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not the kind you do when you're unsure. No, it was that smug little chuckle I'd heard him use on waiters and parking attendants. It's fine, he said. She trusts me completely. Once the inheritance hits, we'll start splitting things out, slowly at first. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her. Then silence. The sound of the fridge door opening, the clink of ice, and then her voice again, calm and icy. Just remember what we discussed. If she starts asking questions, we blame stress. Say we're helping, gently, like she's a child. I stood there, behind the front door, my coat still on, fingers clenched so tight around my purse handle I felt my nails dig into the lining. If you're listening to this, take 1 second, just one, and hit the subscribe button and tap like. It helps our team keep bringing you these stories. 97% of listeners never subscribe, and you'd make our day by being one of the few who actually do. Thank you. My heartbeat was thundering in my ears. I had come home to share good news, to celebrate. That morning, I signed the final set of documents at the attorney's office. 4 apartments, fully rented, fully owned, plus the old country house my grandmother used to call her sanctuary, nestled past Lake Elmhurst where the deer wandered right up to the porch. She left it all to me. No catch, no conditions. Her exact words had been, "Because you're the only one who never asked for anything." And now here I was, listening to my husband and his mother divvying it up like it was already theirs. My mouth went dry. I couldn't move. For a moment, I thought I'd throw up right there on the entryway rug. Jacob. My Jacob. The man who held my hand at Nana's funeral. The man who cried with me, or at least pretended to. I had no reason, none, to doubt him. Until now. I stepped back quietly and opened the door again. This time with force. Slammed it hard enough for the hinges to bark. I cleared my throat and called out like I hadn't heard a damn thing. "Hey, I'm home." Footsteps. Quick, casual, like nothing had happened. Jacob appeared in the hallway, all smiles and charm, the same smile he used on our wedding day. "Hey, babe, how'd it go?" He kissed my cheek like he hadn't just planned a heist in our own kitchen. I smiled back. I had to. "It's done," I said brightly. "Everything's official, signed, sealed, and done." His mother came out, drying her hands with a dish towel like a sitcom mother-in-law. "Wonderful," she beamed. "We should all sit down soon and talk about how best to manage everything." "Definitely," I said, still smiling, still calm. "I want us all on the same page." They had no idea I'd already read the page they didn't want me to see. They thought I was still the girl who cried when people raised their voice, who said sorry when bumped into, who second-guessed her every choice. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I was the legal owner of 4 income-generating apartments and a house no one could touch. And I'd just overheard 2 snakes sharpening knives with my name on them. So I smiled wider, told them I'd bring out wine. Jacob kissed my temple, told me he was proud. His mother said, "Your grandmother would want us to take care of you." I almost laughed. I poured the wine, and I made a plan. They were sitting on the couch like nothing had happened. His mother with her legs crossed, swirling tea like she hadn't just called me soft and stupid 5 minutes ago, and Jacob with that relaxed lean he always used when he thought he had the upper hand. I let the door slam just enough to make it known I was home, tossed my keys on the side table like I hadn't just had the floor ripped out from under me. "Hey," I called out, cheerier than I'd ever been, voice all sunshine and light. "Guess who's officially a property owner?" Jacob stood up and walked over, kissed my cheek. "How was your day?" he asked, just like he always did. "All signed," I said, matching his fake with my own. Everything went smoothly. His mother got up too, pulled me into a hug that felt like a python coiling. "Wonderful news," she said, that false delight dripping from every syllable. "We should start looking at how to manage it all. There's a lot of responsibility now, so many details." I smiled and nodded, like a bobblehead on Xanax. Totally agree. I don't even know where to start. Lie. I knew exactly where to start, and it wasn't with them. Jacob went to the kitchen, offering to reheat the pasta from lunch. You hungry? He asked. I saved you some. As if that would erase what I'd heard earlier, as if warm noodles could patch over betrayal. I sat down on the armrest, right next to the chair his mother always claimed as hers. She looked me up and down the way a loan officer sizes you up for a subprime mortgage. You should think about consolidating things under one name, she said sweetly. It's easier to track income that way, and we'd hate for you to get overwhelmed. Oh, I'd hate that too, I replied, matching her tone like a mirror. I'll definitely need some help navigating it all. Luckily, I know someone. She perked up. Who? My attorney, I said, sipping the tea she'd poured. She's fantastic. Her face didn't move, not a twitch, just a slight pause before she said, Well, that's good. Good to have someone neutral. I almost snorted into my cup. Jacob came back with a plate, handed it to me like he was still the sweet husband who held my hand during doctor's appointments and snuck me candy during long movies. We should talk tomorrow, he said, about finances, maybe streamlining, tax stuff. Makes sense, I said. And that was the game. I played dumb, played tired, played naive. I asked him about his day, nodded through his story about some contractor messing up a home reno job, and laughed at a joke I didn't even hear. I smiled through dinner, loaded the dishwasher after, and even kissed him goodnight. But once he was asleep, I lay there in bed staring at the ceiling fan, listening to its slow, methodical creak. Every turn of the blades was like a metronome, counting down to war. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was wide awake. I was done pretending. And I was going to burn their little operation to the ground, one notarized paper at a time. The next morning, I came downstairs to find Jacob already dressed, sipping coffee like it was just another normal Wednesday in our picture-perfect suburban life. His laptop was open on the table, an Excel sheet pulled up, and he was humming, actually humming, like he hadn't tried to orchestrate a hostile takeover of my inheritance the night before. Morning, he said, smiling. I was thinking, with everything going on, maybe it's time we look at consolidating some stuff, just to make it all easier to manage. I poured my coffee slowly, watching the cream swirl like a storm cloud. Like what? He gestured vaguely at the screen. Assets. You know, the apartments, the house, just pulling them into one place so we don't get hit with random tax penalties. I didn't answer right away. I just stirred my coffee, like I was trying to make sense of what he was saying, like I hadn't already memorized every word of their kitchen scheme. Then his mother showed up, like clockwork, dressed in some pastel nightmare with pearls and too much perfume. I had our accountant draw this up, she said, pulling a neatly stapled packet from her leather bag like it was a brunch menu. Just a formality. It'll streamline everything. I took it with both hands, keeping my face neutral, flipping the first page as casually as I could. It wasn't a formality. It was a trap. The document proposed joint ownership across all 4 apartments and the country house. Full rights of transfer, equal authority over rentals, maintenance, resale, even mortgage leverage, and buried 3 pages in, a clause that would let Jacob assume full management power if I were unavailable or compromised. Unbelievable. They were trying to wrap a noose around my neck and call it a scarf. Still, I smiled. Looks interesting. Let me run this by my accountant. Just want to make sure it doesn't mess with my liabilities. They both paused, just long enough for a twitch of discomfort to flicker across her face. Jacob gave a casual shrug. Yeah, totally. Whatever you need. Oh, I added, tapping the packet gently, and I want to check how this affects the trust. His mother blinked. Trust? I looked up, innocent as a bunny. Yeah, I think there was something mentioned in the estate docs. Might not be a big deal. Just want to be thorough. She laughed, a little too sharp. Of course. We want you to be comfortable. Exactly. Jacob echoed. No pressure. But the pressure was there, thick as fog. I finished my coffee and kissed Jacob on the cheek. Thanks for thinking ahead, I said sweetly. They thought they were ahead of me. They thought I was still the girl who couldn't balance a checkbook without help, the girl who let Jacob talk her into switching banks, who smiled and nodded at his mother's passive-aggressive advice about real adulthood. But I wasn't her anymore, and I wasn't bringing this draft to an accountant. I was bringing it to War Council. The receptionist at my attorney's office didn't even blink when I walked in unannounced, still wearing the same sweater I'd worn to pour Jacob's coffee that morning. She just smiled and led me straight back to Olivia's office, like they already knew I was coming. Olivia Green, estate lawyer, sharp eyes, sharper pen. She'd handled my grandmother's probate with surgical precision, and when I told her what had happened, what I'd overheard, she didn't gasp or make sympathetic noises. She just pulled out a folder, flipped to a blank page, and said, "We'll lock it down." By sunset, we'd done exactly that. The 4 rental properties, each one retitled under the new holding trust we created right there in her office. Sole beneficiary, me. Executor, also me. No co-owners, no co-signers, no management partners. If someone wanted to adjust a thermostat in one of those units, they'd need my notarized approval. And the country house? That was the crown jewel, my grandmother's legacy. Olivia walked me through the deed transfer with the kind of quiet fire that made me understand why Jacob's mother would have hated her on sight. We filed a restriction notice with the county clerk. Any attempt to mortgage, lease, or transfer the house would trigger a legal hold and flag Olivia's office within 24 hours. "Now," Olivia said as she handed me a freshly printed summary of the trust structure, "they can draft all the little documents they want, but unless you fall into a coma and somehow hand them a pen, they can't touch a single thing." I exhaled slowly, feeling something shift inside me. Not peace exactly, but something close to power. Before I left, we added one last layer, a legal freeze on all properties. Any financial movement, sales, title changes, even refinancing, required my signature, in person, notarized. And I scheduled weekly trust activity reports, sent directly to my personal email and locked behind 2-factor authentication. By the time I stepped back into my house, the lights were on, dinner was simmering on the stove, and Jacob was at the kitchen table watching some home improvement video, like the day hadn't cracked at the seams. "Hey," he called out. "You were out a while." "Yeah, traffic," I said, setting my purse down. "Swung by the grocery store, too." He nodded, half distracted, eyes still on the screen. "You think we should paint the upstairs bathroom? I was thinking something more neutral if we ever want to sell." I nearly laughed. Instead, I smiled. Sure, neutral sounds good. The next morning, the sun rose like normal. The walls didn't cave in, the floors didn't shake. Jacob made eggs and coffee. His mother sent me a good morning text with a Pinterest link titled Joint Property Investment Ideas. Everything looked the same, but everything had changed. The papers were signed, the trust was sealed, and I wasn't waiting to be rescued or warned anymore. I was ahead, quietly, legally, absolutely ahead. 2 days later, I was in the middle of folding laundry when Jacob's mother called. No hello, no small talk. "Have you sent the forms yet?" I pinched the corner of a towel, folded it slower. "Still reviewing them," I said lightly. Didn't want to rush into anything before understanding how it all affects the estate. There was a pause. Then that cloying tone she always used when pretending to be helpful. "Why don't you let my accountant take a look? He handles our family's filings. Very trustworthy. He can walk you through it. Make it simpler for you." I kept my voice even. "That's a great idea. I'll send over the details." An hour later, her phone rang, but it wasn't her accountant on the other end. It was Olivia. See, instead of forwarding her documents to some nameless money man with too many golf shirts, I sent her the contact info for my estate attorney with a note that read, "Please direct all financial inquiries here. She's handling everything now." It took exactly 46 minutes for my phone to explode. First, one missed call, then another, and then a voicemail, her voice sharpened to a hiss. "You had everything put in trust? Without telling us? Are you serious right now?" I waited exactly 10 minutes before calling her back. "Yes," I said calmly. "It's a protective measure. I thought you'd support that." She didn't speak right away. I could hear her breathing through her nose like a bull about to charge. Finally, she snapped, "A protective measure from what?" "I'm sure you understand," I said, walking out to the porch where the air was cooler. "These things get complicated, and since I'm the sole heir, it just made sense to protect the assets. You didn't even ask—" "I didn't need to," I cut in, still quiet. My attorney advised me it was well within my rights, all above board, clean and binding. The silence that followed was heavy. I could almost feel her recalculating. Then, like a final jab, she muttered, "This is a mistake." "Maybe," I said, "but it's a legal one." I hung up before she could respond. Not angrily, not theatrically, just decisively. And I didn't tell Jacob. I waited. I wanted to see if he'd admit anything, see if he'd tried to keep pushing those papers, or if he'd finally realized the game was over. But he didn't say a word that night, just asked if I wanted Thai or pizza. He smiled the whole time we watched TV, legs casually tossed over mine like we were just any other couple, just another Thursday night. But his jaw was tight. His eyes kept glancing at his phone. He knew. She'd told him, and they both knew now. This wasn't going to go the way they planned. Their perfect little tax efficiency con was now tangled in a trust, buried under legal clauses they couldn't touch, and guarded by a woman they thought they'd already figured out. Turns out, I'd changed more than my last name. He waited until the house was quiet. No music, no TV, no clinking dishes, just the soft hum of the fridge and the tick of the hallway clock. I was drawing the last plate from dinner when he walked in behind me, slow like a man walking into his own sentencing. I didn't turn around, just kept wiping. "Why are you freezing me out?" he asked, voice low. "We're supposed to be building a life together." I placed the plate on the rack and finally turned to face him. The kitchen light cast a faint yellow glow over his face, and for the first time, I noticed how tired he looked. Or maybe it was guilt. Hard to tell with Jacob. "I thought you were building something with your mother," I said evenly, tilting my head just slightly. He flinched, visibly. Just a flicker, but enough. What do you mean?" I didn't blink. "I heard you. That night. The day I signed the final paperwork. I heard every word." His face drained of color like someone had opened a valve inside him. That's not what it sounded like." "Really?" I asked, stepping closer, not in threat, but in presence. Because what I heard was her talking about moving my assets into her name, and you laughing. You said I'd never notice. His mouth opened, then shut. He looked like a man who had prepared a script, only to realize the play had already ended. "I didn't mean it like that," he tried again. She worries. She wanted to protect you." "By taking what's mine?" I asked. "Is that what protection looks like now?" "I wasn't going to do anything without telling you. It was just talk. She gets carried away, and I didn't want to argue. You know how she is." "I do," I said. "I also know how you are." His jaw tensed. "You're twisting this." "No," I said softly. "You twisted this. You stood in our kitchen and planned how to gut my grandmother's legacy, and you did it with a smirk." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing now like he could outrun the truth bouncing off the tile floor. "It was just a moment. You don't throw everything away over one moment." "That wasn't a moment, Jacob," I said, folding the towel in my hands. It was a blueprint, a plan. He stopped pacing and looked at me, finally still. "So what now? You're cutting me out?" I looked at him like I was seeing him for the first time, like all the versions of him I'd built in my head had collapsed, and I was standing there with the only one that had ever really existed. "I already did," I said. He opened his mouth again, probably to plead or spin or charm, but I didn't care anymore. I wasn't freezing. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even angry. Not in that moment. I was done. Done explaining myself. Done excusing him. Done pretending he was the man I married instead of the one standing in front of me now. Caught, exposed, and still hoping I'd blink first. But I didn't. He stood there a few seconds longer, breathing like he'd run up a hill before muttering, "You're overreacting." "No," I said quietly. "I'm just finally reacting." And then I walked past him, calm and unbothered, and left the kitchen cold. We didn't speak the rest of that night. He sulked in the living room, pacing occasionally, probably rehearsing different speeches in his head. I sat on the bed with a notebook in my lap, not even writing, just watching the pen move back and forth like a pendulum. By morning, he still hadn't figured out what to say, but I had. He followed me into the kitchen as I poured my coffee. His voice was softer this time, not apologetic, more calculating. "Can we just talk?" I didn't look up. "We are." He shifted his weight. "I get it. You're upset. You think I crossed a line, but you're blowing this out of proportion. Mom was being pushy. I didn't stop her. That's on me. But you know I'd never actually take anything from you. I sipped, waited, then turned to face him. Here's what's going to happen. You can stay if you want to, but you don't get to control anything. Not the properties, not the money, not me. The trust is finalized. You're not in it. Your mother's not in it. You never were. His face twitched, like I'd slapped him. You're punishing me? I shook my head. No, I'm protecting what's mine. He laughed, short and hollow. I'm your husband. Exactly, I said. Not my guardian, not my trustee, not my co-signer, and not my puppet master. He stepped forward, reaching for my hand, voice dropping into that low, pleading tone he used to use when he forgot birthdays or canceled plans last minute. Come on, baby. Don't do this. You're just scared. It's a lot to handle alone. Let me help you. I pulled my hand away. Help? Or divide and consolidate? He stiffened. Why are you acting like I'm the enemy? I'm not acting, I said. I'm just seeing clearly. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe the version of me in his head was frozen in the kitchen with wet plates and a trusting smile. He tried again. Okay, fine. You don't want to add my name? I get that. But what about just letting me help manage things? We could move one of the properties under a joint account, ease into it. I set my mug down slowly. Jacob, this isn't a negotiation. This is a final offer. You stay here, you accept that you have no ownership, no stake, no control over the estate, or you leave. Your choice. He blinked. You're serious. As a trust with a lawyer's signature, I said. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The charm drained out of him. The blame started to trickle in next. You're being manipulated. Olivia's probably making money off scaring you. I didn't respond. He tried pity next. You don't have to do this alone. You shouldn't have to. And finally, desperation. Is this really worth ruining us? I picked up my coffee again. No, Jacob, you ruined us. I'm just refusing to carry the wreckage. That's when the last bit of denial left his eyes. The realization settled in. The door was closing. The power he thought he had, gone. The girl who used to ask for his opinion on everything from wine to Wi-Fi passwords. She didn't live here anymore. I did. And I wasn't asking. I was deciding. A week later, I pulled into the driveway after a late meeting with Olivia and saw the porch light was off. That wasn't unusual. Jacob always forgot to leave it on when he was annoyed. But when I stepped inside, the silence felt different. Still, settled. Like something had already ended and was waiting for me to notice. I walked through the hallway. No jacket on the hook. No muddy sneakers by the door. I opened the bedroom door, flicked on the light, and stopped. His side of the closet was empty. Not half empty. Not messy. Gone. Shirts, shoes, that worn leather belt he'd had since college. Vanished. Even the cologne I used to buy him was gone from the dresser. The spare key we kept in the tray by the door? Missing. On the bed, sitting neatly on my grandmother's old quilt, was a folded note card with nothing inside. Just blank paper, as if he couldn't decide what to say or just didn't bother trying. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a message from his mother. One line, "You'll regret this." No greeting, no punctuation, just venom wrapped in entitlement. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Olivia. By morning, she'd already drafted a cease and desist letter, personalized and surgical. It went out certified. She also sent a memo to the building management companies for each apartment, alerting them of the trust structure and confirming sole authorization under my name. No third-party access. No family involvement. If Jacob or his mother tried to so much as step onto one of those properties, it would trigger immediate legal response. I changed the locks the same day. Not because I thought he'd come back, because I didn't want him to. Within a month, 2 of the apartments were rented. Clean tenants, background checked, reliable. The other 2? I took the time to renovate them. New paint, better fixtures, small upgrades that push the value up fast. Olivia connected me with a property manager who knew how to market high turnover units to traveling professionals. By the end of the quarter, I had passive income humming like a well-oiled engine. And the country house? Still untouched, still waiting. Not once did I hear from Jacob again. No apology, no long email begging for a second chance, no attempt to explain what couldn't be explained. He was gone. And I was still here, still standing, not hiding anymore, not waiting for someone to validate the decisions I made for myself, not shrinking when his mother's name popped up on my screen. They left thinking they'd broken something in me. All they did was set it free. Every first of the month, like clockwork, I get the notification. Trust deposit received. The number isn't small, it's not loud either. It's steady. It's mine. No approvals needed, no second signatures, no anxious dinner conversations about optimization. Just clean income from clean properties tied to no one but me. I open the email, check the statement, and then I close it. That's it. No fanfare, no performance, just stability humming in the background of my life like a song I finally like. The country house sits exactly where it always did, tucked past the lake, past the last bend in the old gravel road. I go out there every spring when the air still smells like melting snow and pine needles. It's quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't ask anything of you. I bring a bag of groceries, a book I probably won't finish, and sit on the porch Nana built with her own hands. Sometimes I talk to her, just a little. Not in some spiritual way, just a simple update, like I'm telling her, I got it, Nana, I protected it. She always said peace wasn't a place, it was the absence of needing to explain yourself. I understand that now. Jacob called twice. The first time, I watched the phone ring and didn't touch it. The second time, I let it go to voicemail. He didn't leave a message that second time. But the first? Oh, he did. His voice was different, quieter, tired. Hey, I just wanted to talk. I know I messed up. I wish things were different. Click. That's all he said. I kept the message, not to dwell, not to listen to it again and again, just to remind myself what betrayal sounds like before it realizes the door won't open anymore. I didn't want to destroy him. I didn't even want to humiliate his mother, though she probably thinks I did. I wasn't looking for revenge. I just wanted my truth. I wanted to protect what was mine, to reclaim the parts of myself that got dimmed every time someone said I was too emotional, too soft, too trusting. I wanted to step fully into the legacy that had been left in my hands and not let it rot under someone else's idea of what I could or couldn't manage. And now I live quietly. I don't post about it. I don't brag. I don't correct people when they assume Jacob left me, not the other way around. Let them think whatever they want. Because silence, it's not weakness. It's the sound of no longer being owned.